Hey there everyone! Thanks so much for joining me. If this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. I found this piece on Facebook Marketplace along with its matching chest for $25. And as you can see, this drawer was stabbed pretty well. I don't know what that's all about. But it's a great quality piece made by Stanley and the price was just unreal. Now you're looking at this and it's obviously been sanded. That's because I once again lost my footage, but not to worry, I'll soon be getting some new equipment so that I won't have to worry about that anymore. We're going to pretend here that I'm removing the hardware. The hardware was beautiful, I wanted to use it, but it was broken. I'm going to clean it first very well with my favorite duo, the Sponge Daddy and the Krud Cutter. As you can see, it's in really good condition. The oak looks great. It just needs to be scrubbed, and it was so pretty that I really didn't have the heart to paint it. It's not mandatory that after you use this product that you wipe it off with clean water, but in a second you'll see why I usually do. I'm using my DeWalt sander with 120 grit sandpaper, 3M brand, and I'm going along the grain. I'm going with the grain. As you can see, the top has a unique pattern. And I made sure that I was going along with it instead of against it. When I'm finished sanding to bare wood, I will come back with a higher grit sandpaper, 220, and sand everything again to close the wood grain up. When I was finished sanding, I still had the problem of how to remove this stain from the center of the faux drawers. So I used my quick stripper and poured it directly on top, let it sit for a few minutes, and used a wire brush, which are lifesavers for getting into all those little nooks and crannies, to scrub the area. After cleaning up the clumps of leftover stain with a paper towel, I then used mineral spirits to wipe the surface completely clean of any oil that was left behind from the stripper. While I was letting the drawers dry, I went ahead and mixed up my dark wash. I originally just used some brown paint. It's Grizzly Bear Brown by Benjamin Moore. It's just a very true brown color, but it was too light. So then I made this color. This was half Grizzly Bear and half Onyx, both by Benjamin Moore. Onyx obviously being Benjamin Moore's darkest shade of black, and I diluted them with plenty of water. I applied it with a very wide bristle brush and wiped it back with a paper towel. Here's the part where my daughter and I made a template for the design with a sled because we're just a little bit gangsta. This material here is the star of the show. I've used it before in another piece. I'll add a picture up there, and it's basically a roll of craft plaster gauze. You can use it for a variety of crafts like making plaster ghosts or putting it on a balloon, letting it harden and making a vase. You can make masks with it. Lots of fun stuff. I used my favorite shade of beige by Benjamin Moore, mixed it with some BB Frosh. I had done this prior and I don't have video of it, but I will link the BB Frosh in my, it's already linked to my Amazon shop. It's paint additive that I add to my paint to turn it into chalk/mineral paint. I painted that on the entire surface, covered it well, and let it sit on a flat surface to dry. I then made the cuts with regular scissors and applied it to the wood with Mod Podge. I used a brush and I painted the entire backside of the gauze, covered it completely with lots of Mod Podge, placed it on top of the wood, and pressed and let it dry. And if you're wondering, Kristen, where's the footage? Well, can you take a guess where the footage is? Yes, I deleted it. I accidentally deleted it. But like I said, that won't be happening from now on. And this is a lot more challenging than it looks. So yes, when the Mod Podge was completely dry, I painted over it again with kitten whiskers. And a part that I left out was where I used 120 grit sandpaper to hand sand the rough spots off. Next up is my trusty old macrame cord that gets an award for best supporting material. I'm using Gorilla Glue construction glue, which Gorilla Glue is the bomb. It is really the only glue that I use anymore, even with hot glue. It's just a step above everything else. And I used it to connect the macrame cord to it. And after it dried well, I used Mod Podge to seal the deal. The Mod Podge is matte. It's very important that you use matte to match it with the color or the sheen of the wood next to it, because I was also going to leave the wood matte. So Mod Podge matte is a lifesaver as well. And I'm using frog tape to tape off the area and to do it again for all the sides. Now this part took some adjustment. I did let it dry and realized that it wasn't even. So I had to go back, pull it off, and start over anew. But that's what I do. When everything had dried, I went and did yet another coat of kitten whiskers. I probably went a little overkill with the painting and could have saved this step for last, but I wasn't really sure of what I was going to do. Like, I wasn't sure how I was going to execute this plan, so I thought better off painting it right now just in case I change my mind, because I do that too. I used a little bit of water with my paint to help it spread evenly and get into all those little grooves. Then here, one of my favorite tricks, using my Craftsman leaf blower to remove the dust from the piece, and it works like a charm. When I'm not using wax to seal, and I use wax a lot, this is my absolute favorite sealer. It is Varathane's Poly Acrylic Matte. It has a matte sheen, so it looks like there's no protection on it, but there is. I used a sponge applicator. Easiest, quickest way to do it. If any of you stress over this, over applying poly, yes, it's challenging the first few times you do it, especially if you're using it over a solid color of paint. But when you're using it to cover wood, it's absolutely flawless. And I use the sponge applicator on the entire piece, even over the macrame and the gauze, just to seal it again. And if this stuff ever comes off, it will be a miracle. And I did 2 coats of it on the entire piece. I had to drill new holes for the hardware just for the top 3 smaller drawers. And I used my level to make sure that everything was close to perfect. And I used my template, which I'll put a picture in here for you, that I always use to make sure that the holes are exactly lined up in the right spot. These drawer sides were in desperate need of some extra love, so I sanded them down and used Formby's tongue oil to freshen them up a little bit. Just put it on a cloth and wiped it on. I've included her in all my videos so far, so here she is. Here's my daughter eating an ice cream sandwich while I was working, while she's laying down in the driveway. It's reveal time. This piece sold so fast I didn't even have a chance to take a video. It's got to be one of my favorites to date. I'm obsessed with it. And it sold for $525, meaning I made a $500 profit. If you enjoyed it and learned something new, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks. See you next time.